Hey, how's it going everyone? DD Man Killer here. So today I'll be going over a tips and tricks video for newer demon players and demon players who are wishing to improve their gameplay and just learn new things as a demon. So we will be going over the three demons in the game: Warlord, Necromancer, and the Puppeteer. We'll be talking about little things you can do to help improve your gameplay, little things you may not notice, and then we'll talk about overall things you can do based on whatever killer you're playing, or just all killers in general, or demons, as they are called in the game, and just how to take advantage of every situation you can. So we're gonna get started with the Warlord first of all. So with Warlord, Warlord is very well known for their basic units, and they're very strong with the basic unit spam possession. So one thing you do with Warlord, if you saw earlier, is using Puke as much as possible, because Warlord has a early on skill tree upgrade for the Puke, which removes the ability to sprint and dodge for 5 seconds when you hit a survivor with it. This is very good for catching people who like to dodge a lot, such as hunters, who currently can get up to 7 dodges in the game. Another thing you can use the Puke for is to go ahead and stop people from attacking you with their melee weapons or ranged weapons. When you puke on someone, it temporarily prevents them from attacking you. They throw their hands up, and they can no longer, and it gives you a couple seconds to get some hits in. Usually after I puke on someone, you can usually get about 2 heavies in. I usually like to start with 2 heavies, and then after that, you may get an extra hit in before the 5 seconds wears off, depending how far away you are. But usually I like to start with 2 heavies to get as much damage as possible as I can. And one thing I can recommend before possessing units as Warlord is to pop the Q ability. The unique ability, the button is different, whatever platform you're playing on. Pop the ability before you possess a unit, because when you possess a unit, right after you pop the ability, it still emits the aura around the unit you're possessing. And if you have this aura around the unit you're possessing, you're going to be buffing all the other AI units with you. Will make the survivor's job a lot harder. So definitely take advantage of that aura and pop it whenever you can if you expect other AI units to be around you. So we're going to go ahead and watch a little bit of this gameplay right here. As you saw, when you puke on a survivor, you can use the dodge ability to cancel the puke animation without having to wait for him to, wipe his mouth off. So definitely puke on a survivor and then use the dodge button to cancel the animation early, and then jump on the survivor to get as much damage as you can as possible. Because if you wait for him to finish the animation, like right there, if you wait for him, by the time you reach him, the 5 seconds is going to be up and he's going to be running away. Another little tip of advice for the Warlord: the units with the melee weapons do more damage than the units without the melee weapons. So always try to possess those over the ones without the melee weapons. You can tear off your arm to use as a weapon, but I prefer to have both arms and a weapon in my hand. Another tip I can give is with Henrietta. Henrietta is the boss unit of the Warlord class. And one of her abilities is she basically lets out a gas fart around her. What this does, it does continuous damage for any survivors in the area lingering around in it. But what it also does, it also slows down the attacks of all survivors using melee or ranged. So if you have a bunch of survivors on you and they're all spamming on you using their abilities, or just melee spamming in general, pop the gas on her. It'll basically cut their attacks down by half. They'll be able to get about 1 attack in, and they'll have to throw their hands up, and they can do it again. And it gives you a lot of breathing room, and I recommend running increased duration on Henrietta just for that. You can check out my build in one of my previous videos for Henrietta, but that's probably one of her best abilities. So that is the basic gist of Warlord. Very strong early game unit, basic spam possession. Take advantage of the basic units and their puke. They are the best counter currently to hunters in the game, who can dodge until the sun boils over. So let's go ahead and look at the next demon. We're going to go look over at Necromancer. So in my opinion, Necromancer is probably one of the easiest demons to learn for newer players. Very simple, very oriented around the flute, the flautist of the Necromancer, as that it's its most significant buff. The skill tree levels are very, very good for new players as well. So for the Necromancer, what you want to do, as you saw I come up here, I see a fight going on, so I immediately look for a place to put my flute down. Always recommend putting it down behind traps. Make it as hard as possible for survivors to get to your flute guy. So I put him behind a couple traps. There are some windows there, they can jump through them, but most people won't. So I put him down, immediately possess units, and I just start hitting on the survivors. Take advantage of heavy attacks. Heavy attacks do lots of damage. 450 right there. 450 damage, one heavy attack buff flutist. And as you see the Cheryl here, she tries to go for the flute, but the trap hits her and prevents her from getting to him. You really want to take advantage of your placement. Your flute placement is critical as a Necromancer player. It can really make or break the game. You put it into an easy spot, it's easy to find. The survivors can take it out and turn the game in their favor. If you are not able to put it in areas behind traps or areas that make it hard for the survivors, what you want to do is put it as hard as possible. Survivors will usually, what they do when they hear it, they'll just go running straight for it. You want to focus down the 1 or 2 survivors going for it. The chances are they'll kill the flutist, but you'll able to output some massive damage or kill the people going the flutist. So keeping your flutist alive or using it as bait behind traps is one of the best things you can do with the flutist. You want to make the survivor's job as hard as possible. So Evil Ash is the boss of Necromancer. So with Evil Ash, he has an ability that can revive skeletons. Very good ability, and it can really turn the tide of the game. Always try to pop all your units down first, and then spawn an Evil Ash, and then pop that ability to start reviving skeletons that go down around you. There's a combo you can do with Evil Ash where he calls in skeletons as his ability. As we know, Evil Ash has a 4-hit combo, and at the end of that 4-hit combo, you can get shot in the head pretty easily because you kind of linger there for a couple seconds. As soon as you do your 4-hit combo, immediately use the revive ability, and you can start moving around instead of sitting there and taking free damage. Necromancer, in my opinion, isn't as complex as the other demons. It's pretty simple, but the flute placement is definitely what's going to help make or break the game. I recommend running the flute range increase to make it harder for the survivors to get to. You really want to focus on keeping the flute alive as hard as possible. Possess units and attack people going for the flutist. Use the flute as bait behind traps to bait survivors into a trap. Or just focus survivors trying to go for the flute. The longer your flute is up, the better your chances are of winning, the stronger units will be. It's just pretty much that simple. Keep the flute guy alive, your chances of winning just go up and up and up. Basic, easy to understand kit, not as complex as all the other killers. So without further ado, we're gonna go over to the Puppeteer and talk a little bit about the Puppeteer. Alright, so Puppeteer is my favorite of all the 3 demons. In my opinion, definitely the weakest of the 3 because he is a lot more easy to counter for good players, but in my opinion, the most fun to play. Very unique abilities, just all overall a fun, good time. So the Puppeteer, the strongest part of the Puppeteer is going to be the elite unit and the boss himself, Elagos. So the elite units, they have the ability to call down thunder. So you want to be using that ability as much as possible. Always keep your ranged with this unit because he takes reduced range damage and you're only really weak to melee damage. So you always want to be running around as much as possible and spamming that lightning. So as you saw over there, you can have your balance bar broken. If you call in, there used to be an exploit with this game where people could animation cancel with lightning, and it still seems to be somewhat in the game, although you can't really intentionally do it anymore. But it seems like when people break your balance bar, the lightning instacasts now, so you can kind of try to time that. It's not exactly super easy because you can't do it too early and you can't do it too late, but if you're calling in the lightning and the survivors break your balance bar, it immediately casts the lightning instead of waiting. You can maybe pull this off maybe 10% of the time doing it, because like I say, you have to time it, and a lot of survivors will just kind of jump away when they see you casting lightning instead of attacking you. But that's one thing that can happen when you're getting rushed with the elite unit. One of the things you really want to try to do when you're playing the elite units on Puppeteer is try to down someone as much as hard as you can, because when you get someone down and then you possess a elite unit using the Puppeteer's unique ability, you can then gatekeep that body. What the Puppeteer's unique ability does is it gives increased HP, increased damage, and lower cooldowns on any unit possess. And if you possess the elite unit with that, you know you're gonna be using your abilities, your lightning strikes every 8 seconds. Your cloning abilities every like 15, 20 seconds. I think it's 15 seconds. Something like that. It's a lot longer, but you can basically call in lightning consistently. So when you are ready to go all in the survivors, use that unique ability on the elite unit. So right here, I possess a shell, run into her trap. I recommend doing that when you want to start a fight. If you can't get survivors to run into a trap, spawns in the elite unit, and I immediately just start casting lightning on them. Now right here, I use a trap as cover as I use my cloning ability, and I keep calling in lightning on them. With Puppeteer, it's very effective when you're possessing elites to have multiple traps set up and just run into them to use your abilities, because people, when they see an elite unit, they're going to try to WQ rush you and take you out as fast as possible. So having traps set up to bait them into is huge, and it gets more units on the field. So over here, I down someone, and right now I'm basically gatekeeping his body, preventing people from getting revives on him. Because one thing with the elite units is that the lightning damage is not unique. So the more people on each other, the more damage they take, because they can get shocked by everyone's lightning. So right there, I shock the Cheryl and down her, trying to get the revive off of. A good attack combo, or just a good attack you can do with the elites. The heavy attack is pretty good if you're running towards them. If your arms get chopped off, you can also use the heavy to use the legs instead of headbutting, which is much more effective. So I down the Henry right there. I got 3 people down. Once you start downing people, I've noticed with Puppeteer, it becomes just basically, you know, a domino effect at that point. Another thing I cannot confirm is I think all the units have bleed damage on them for Puppeteer. I don't know if that's because of the skill tree perk for Elagos, because it says only for Elagos, but I think all units also have bleed damage. Not as much as the skill tree upgrade, but all of the units do, that I believe. You can also use the Elagos boss to gatekeep bodies. He is also very good for doing so because he can go invisible. You don't always have to use your heavies or your light attacks as the boss, but just stay in the invisible mode, go around, shock people, use the AoE shock and grab them, and just basically stop them from getting revives off. But Puppeteer is the kind of he's the kind of kill demon, in my opinion, that once 1 or 2 people start going down, his damage and effectiveness just skyrockets. Unfortunately, this demon is countered easily by survivors who know how to dodge the Thunderstruck ability pretty well. But that is not common to see, where all 4 survivors can dodge all the abilities and not get hit. So the chances you run into a 4 stack and every single one perfectly dodges is exceptionally rare. They usually mess up, and when you get that chance, you just take advantage of it. So very, very fun demon. I love this demon. My favorite in the game. Very unique kit, very fun, but is unfortunately a little weak and kind of requires a survivors to start going down and just to not have a lot of knowledge about the killer in order to succeed with it. So those are my basic advice on the demons themselves. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about just overall things that improves yourself as a demon. So I'm gonna go over some things you can use as just a demon in general, or any demon, to improve your gameplay. This is not really demon specific. I'm not gonna show footage for I'm just showing general footage of the game right here to show footage for every single thing that would require an ungodly amount of time. So I'm just going to talk about it and try to put it in perspective as much as I can. So one of the most common things people ask me is, how do I find people fast? And the game starts. Well, there's 2 maps. There's the one with the Nobi cabin, and there's the larger map. I don't know the exact map names. I apologize. But there's a small map and a big map. The small map is pretty easy to find survivors. The big map is pretty hard. What you want to do is open your map, look for the map and the dagger, and your location. Survivors never spawn on the map, they never spawn on the dagger, and they never spawn in your location. If they do, that's bugged. They can spawn close to you, but they'll never spawn on you. So look at where the map, the dagger, and where yourself is. If there's a town there, a little area, they're not going to be in that area. So you just want to look everywhere on the map where they're not at, and go towards their areas. Those areas. On a lot of maps, the more you play, you'll start to notice survivors start to spawn in certain areas more than others, like common spawn points, right? And the more, and it's kind of hard to go through, so I'm not going to go through the names of all of them because it's just, you'll learn with game sense the more you play, but you'll start to realize like, hey, the map's at Dead End, the dagger's at Jake's Gas and Go, and I'm over here at this camp down here, so that means they're probably gonna be in these only 3 other locations, right? You go check those out, and that's how you find them quicker. It's easier in the smaller map, but the big map can definitely take a few minutes. The smaller map, you can get them under a minute almost every single time. You want to be as aggressive as you can off the bat. I don't recommend going to the map or dagger and trapping at these locations. What you kind of want to do is to find the survivors as early on as possible. Sure, you get threat level for every trap you place, but you also get more threat level for every trap that goes off. So you want to find these survivors, place traps everywhere as much as possible around them. You want to slow them down, use their resources, basically whittle them down. You don't want them to get to a map or dagger and have all these heals, all these ammos, all these legendary guns and legendary weapons, because then guess what? You're boned. The chances of you winning are slim. You want to find them off the bat, take advantage of their location, and just do as much damage as possible to these people. And another thing you could take advantage of is look for people on their own. 100% early game, people love splitting off on their own. Look for anyone on their own in a building alone, across the map alone. Some people are harder to take advantage and down than others, but try to find someone on their own and just down them. You will force multiple people on the team to come over and try to save them, and it puts the team way behind. This is the strongest thing you can use against survivors, and they do this to themselves quite a lot. So look for people on their own, try to down them. It can definitely be harder more than others. Capture card just messed up there for a second, so ignore that. So it can definitely be harder than others. But if it's not someone like a Warrior Ash, or maybe a really skilled hunter player, you can probably down them and force the team out of position and to waste their time. There is a one thing I can say when you do down people. Right now you have the ability to lifesteal off of people you shoot, but when you down someone, you can also lifesteal off their body while they are downed. So it seems like when you use weapons with multiple pellets like shotguns, it lifesteals a lot more than single shot weapons. So if you need a quick burst of energy from lifestealing someone, definitely shoot a down person in a fight. I've done it before. You'll be 1v1ing someone, you have someone down next to you, I'll just shoot him a couple times, get myself to a lot of energy with a shotgun, and then boom, I rush out the guy and I end up taking him down. I don't know if that's something that's intended or it's not. I think the amount of energy you get is exceptionally strong, and that kind of needs to be changed, but definitely take advantage of life stealing off of downed people. What else is there? If you have I would say since hunters are very strong in this game right now, they can be the warlord meta is pretty strong with puking on people and preventing them from dodging and sprinting away. The only other really hard counter you can really do towards that is, you can spawn the boss and grab them. Every boss pretty much has a stun. Henrietta has a grab where she floats towards them. Evil Ash has a grab where he drains them. Elagus has a grab where he shocks them. Every boss has a grab. You can use that on them. As you saw right there, I lifesteal off to his body. That's a perfect example. Getting constant energy back and using his ammo at the same time. I'll go back to what I just said about the grab. I want to say real quick, as you saw, I was lifestealing off his body. The longer you're possessing a survivor, the more damage they take. And if you have a survivor at half health, if you possess him for like a minute straight, he's gonna go down when you stop the possession. I don't know the damage per second rate, what it is, but the longer you damage the survivor, the longer you possess the survivor, when you unpossess them, they'll take a lot of damage and they'll go down. So that's one thing I want to go through. But back to what I was saying about hunters or people that dodge a lot. A way you can counter that is like, yeah, you can spawn a boss and grab them, or what I like to do, you can run into these survivors, and what they're gonna do is they're automatically gonna think, oh, you're gonna attack, right? They're gonna dodge back every single time, and you can bait out quite a few of their dodges doing this, and then you can start your attack combo, and you'll be guaranteed to get a few hits in. It works a lot of times and is very effective. People are very trigger finger happy to dodge. So unfortunately, the only ways to counter that all these dodges is Warlord Puke, running into survivors, baiting out their dodges, or using the boss to grab them. Other than that, that is all the advice I can think of currently in the game. I may come out with a future, more advanced tips and tricks video if I think of new things, but for what I can think of right now, these are all the tips and tricks for each demon and basic advice I can give on to improve your gameplay. If you want to see examples of me using this, you can check out my Twitch and my VODs and see me playing certain demons. I have tons of gameplay on there, but definitely take advantage of the things I said, because I've noticed a lot of people really don't use all these little things, and these little things are kind of what can separate you from winning or losing a game. May not seem like a lot, but just using one of these little tactics can really sway the game in your favor. So I appreciate you guys checking out the video. If you like it, drop a follow, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff, whatever people say, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.